While things are starting to heat up on the ice in the Stanley Cup final, trade rumors have only gotten hotter as the weeks have gone by.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everydayer for making this your first listen today. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Writers. I do some AHL news over at the Calder Times. I am the co-host of the Surgecast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all of my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. Got an interesting show for you guys on Monday. Going to be talking about a lot of the trade rumors that have been surrounding Martin Necas, along with just all aspects of what's going on around him. And just, with the fact that the back and forth of is he staying, is he going, what's going on with all that, and how he's been linked to some trades with other teams. And at the very end of the podcast, going to actually do a potential mock trade, which I think could be a very doable one that involves a team in the Western Conference. But before we get into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So like I said, most of today's episode is going to be talking about Martin Necas and just how the fact that you look at how over the last few weeks, ever since the Hurricane season ended, there's nothing but talks. Is the Hurricanes going to keep Martin Necas? Are they going to trade him away? Who's going to be, potential trade targets in terms of who wants to go get him and stuff like that. And one of the main things is, when it comes to it, Elliotte Friedman on 32 Thoughts has been saying that, recently that the Hurricanes are looking to want to get a bona fide star out in the trade they want for Martin Necas because they think he's a budding superstar himself, and they want guys who are ready right now. So in terms of what the return is for Martin Necas, you can forget about prospects. Draft picks could be there too, but they really want guys who are ready to go right now for the Hurricanes. So could have been Filip Hronek and a draft pick for Martin Necas, possibly, but it could be more now. The Hurricanes are probably going to be looking at getting a better deal in terms of what could work for them. I know, with Vancouver, the deal earlier in the season, which would have been Elias Pettersson from the Vancouver Canucks going to the Hurricanes for Martin Necas, that would have been a good one too. But since he's locked up long-term over there with Vancouver, that deal's kind of out the window. Now it looks like it's going to be a lot more than just Hronek and a couple picks. And I know someone mentioned – I've seen stuff where it's like Hronek and Höglander and a pick for Martin Necas, but I don't know. It's very, very interesting when you look at how the whole aspect of you go from, what's Martin Necas going to get to, okay, he probably get someone who's ready now and a couple draft picks, to now there's a narrative of he's a budding star who could get a lot more back. And, it does help too with the fact that how good he did at the, men's world championships, where you get 7 points in 5 games. So that definitely does help for sure. You bump up your trade stock and, you could get better deals for the Hurricanes. I don't know. Like I said, there's the whole debate of now the Hurricanes were looking to trade Jay Gensel's rights away to someone for a mid-round pick. That's on the latest episode of 32 Thoughts with Elliotte Friedman and Jeff Merrick. They talk about how the Hurricanes might want to trade away his rights before the trade deadline happens, I guess, or not the trade, before the free agency and re-sign phase starts. So they're trying to see what that could look like. Apparently the Chicago Blackhawks were in terms of that possibly happening. Who knows? But I know with Martin Necas, I know over at the Hockey Writers, it seems like everyone is like, oh, why insert team here can go after Martin Necas, or what could be potential trades that could work for him. And I've had all the beat writers from over there asking me like, what could work? What can you tell me about Martin Necas? And Martin Necas is a good hockey player. I would say Martin Necas as a whole he's a really good stick handler. He's got really high end 98th, 99th percentile speed. Has great stick handles. He can basically go into a London phone booth and stick handle with no problems. It's he plays a lot of wing. It seems like when he's with the Hurricanes, it feels like he kind of fits the system, but also doesn't fit the system really well because it seems like he's really fast, and the rest of his line mates are not as fast as him. So it's kind of like he's breaking into the zone a lot quicker. And unfortunately, it's just the drop passes. It's like it seems like he's struggling trying to find the way to make make passes work when he's in the zone by himself. And like they just kind of go to nowhere, which leads to turnovers. And his defense is okay. It could get better. It's definitely something to work on. I know he's 25. It's you could work on it and stuff like that too. But right, it just seems like he wants to play center because he did play that a lot. But unfortunately, it's just I think him playing center is just not great in terms of when it comes to the NHL style of play, where his faceoff percentage is in like the low 40s, upper 30% range, and you can just tell that like there's no reason to put him as a center. His defense is okay. It's just not where the Hurricanes want their centers to be at. They want to have a center who's a good 200-foot player who could be good on the defense as long as the offense. And right now, Martin Necas, his defense it's okay. And that I think is kind of why the Hurricanes are never really going to put him as a center position, even if he really wants to do it, because that was what he naturally grew up doing. He's good at it when it comes to international play, but for the NHL, it's not really. It doesn't really translate, and that's why you never really see him there. And of course, with some of the additions you got with Jay Gensel and all that going the power play 1, you saw him drop back to power play 2, so he didn't get the the man advantage points that you saw him get last year, and that's why you see a little bit of a drop off for him. And it's one of those things where you go from having a season where you have 28 goals, 43 assists for 71 points, and you're a +5, where you got 7 points in 15 games in the playoffs, to now where you played 5 games less, but you got 24 goals, 29 assists for 53 points, was a -9, and you had 9 points in 11 games, which still isn't bad, but it's an interesting situation for how this team is looking with Martin Necas, because at the end of season interviews with now former president and GM Don Waddell, like they didn't want to give up on Martin Necas. They also didn't say they also give up on Jesper Kotkaniemi as well, but it's like they can see both of those guys playing really well. They can be good players. Gotta give them time, but it's an interesting situation where you kind of see like Martin Necas is disgruntled with his playing time. He's not on the power play 1 line. He's not on the top line. He's not with the first line. And like you're still averaging over 17 minutes a game if you're Martin Necas. Yeah, you're not getting the power play 1 minute you want, stuff like that. But it's one of those things where like in the first half of the season he was playing okay, then he kind of got hot later in the second half, but it makes it very tough when you got someone like him who's he just got done with a bridge deal where he was looking at he was on a contract where you're getting $3 million over the last 2 seasons after having the contract that he just got off right off before that. And the thing is, he's still arbitration eligible as an RFA. So yeah, you made $3 million over the last 2 seasons, and you're still You're still an RFA with arbitration eligibility. So and you can tell that he wants more money too. Like he wants that pay raise, but it's like, do you give him that 6.5? I don't know. you talk about having one good season with the Hurricanes, back in 22-23, where you led the team with 71 points. If that was a more consistent number where you're seeing upper 60s, low 70s, I could say yes, you can give him that 6.5. But when you look at where he is now, where it's this season at 53, which is good. This past season, which was, fine, but it's a little bit of a drop off compared to the year before. But then you look at 21-22, he had 40 points. The year before that, 41. The year before that was 36. Of course, the one where he got 36, he only played in 64 games. The 41 points, he played in 53, but that was the COVID shortened season. So you're still only talking 41 points. So it's like, but then you go to the next year, you go down by 1 point, you're at 40. You're really in the same area. Then you kind of have a pop-off year in the first year of your 2-year deal. And then you have another drop-off again where you basically drop off by like 18 points. Yeah, you missed 5 fewer games, but I don't know. It's just tough where you're looking at Martin Necas, where he's like, you want to keep him, but also he's not really happy. He wants more money and more minutes than he wants to play center, and right now that's not what the Hurricanes really want. And I just think faceoffs wise, he's not the greatest, and his defensive play just doesn't fit the system. So it's almost like, do you want to keep him around and figure it out, or do you say, okay, well, you're 25, you want all this extra money with all these guys that we need to bring back too, and it's like you're kind of a streaky player. I like Martin Necas, but it's kind of to the point where it's, do you just move on and let him just go get a change of scenery and see if he fits better somewhere else and maybe just get some assets back? And that's why I said you look at where he's been linked to Vancouver multiple times. Apparently, Montreal Canadiens are interested in him, where, there were some inside rumor reports that the Canadiens were asking. I know Boston's been asking, because there's a potential thing where it could be with Martin Necas and Linus Ullmark getting involved. And that was, something that Elliotte Friedman brought up on 32 Thoughts as well. It's just, he's being linked to all these teams and stuff like that. And on Sunday, I just started thinking like, okay, he's been mentioned to all these teams, and, there's could be, potential, I think the Flames at one point were kind of mentioned as well. And that's what kind of me thinking, like, maybe there's something with the Calgary Flames that could work for the Hurricanes, where it benefits Martin Necas to go to a different scenery, go to a different style of, play. But you also maybe get help with another contract you might be able to move. And you're kind of helping yourself out if you're the Hurricanes with a slight upgrade to a position that was kind of a question mark in the playoffs and mostly through most of the regular season as well. And you get your replacement in Martin Necas, and you also get some draft capital for your future. So we'll actually get into that specific trade, proposal and ideas here in a second on a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, and more, and you can bet it all on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet on anything from the Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the park. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome back to a segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. And like I said at the end of segment 1, I mentioned that, wrote an article Sunday and started getting some more ideas, with the hockey writers, and started getting an idea what a possible trade could look like for the Carolina Hurricanes when it comes to Martin Necas, and also adding another contract as well on top of that could help alleviate some flexibilities in the present and also with the future. And I think the team that could really work with a benefit for the Carolina Hurricanes is the Calgary Flames. And I think, the two guys that I could really think could be that could make something work for the Hurricanes and also for the Flames too, is a slight upgrade in one of the positions for the Hurricanes at least, and you get your replacement in Martin Necas along with some draft capital, while also sending some draft capital back to the Flames as well. And I did talk to Jess from Locked On Flames. I ran this by her, see what she thought. She thought it was pretty good, something that could really work too. Also talked to some other people over at the Hockey Writers as well. I know Derek Olson, who is a writer for the Calgary Flames at the Hockey Writers. He talked to him a little bit too, and we kind of thought this might be a good trade that might work for both sides. Even, add on a sign-in trade as another layer to this whole thing as well. And I think this is a trade that could potentially really, really work for both sides. It just depends on what Conroy, the GM of the Flames, wants to do, and also with Eric Tulsky of the Carolina Hurricanes. And I'm curious to see what everyone thinks about this trade. So in the comments, once this trade gets, I kind of go over the trade and stuff like that. Let me know in the comments how you feel about it and stuff like that. Do you think it would work, or what would you add? What would you change and stuff like that? So here's the initial trade I kind of came up with the Calgary Flames and the Carolina Hurricanes. And so for this, the Flames would actually get Martin Necas, and then here's the contract I think they could potentially move that could benefit the Hurricanes while also giving the Flames another piece to their potential top six of the future, or even now, and that's center Jesperi Kotkaniemi, a 2024 second-round pick, which is the Carolina Hurricanes, and a 2025 fourth-round pick. Now, for the Hurricanes, they will be getting back goaltender Jacob Markstrom, left-wing white winger in Andrew Mangiapane, a 2024 second-round pick, which is actually came via from the Dallas Stars, and a 2025 conditional third-round pick. Now, I know what people are thinking. Okay, well, why would you get Markstrom when you got Frederik Andersen and also Pierre Kochetkov? And here's my thing with why I'm looking at Jacob Markstrom. Now, Freddie Andersen is 34 years old. Jacob Markstrom is also 34 years old. And here's the thing, too. I know Freddie Andersen's contract is where it's one of those things where he's making $3.4 million. He's got a modified no trade clause of 15 team with the 15 team no trade list, making 3.4. With Jacob Markstrom, he's got a full no move clause, but it's known that he did waive it for New Jersey Devils last year, and nothing got done with it. But you could potentially make it work to where he might waive it again, and he might be okay with going to the Hurricanes. And here's the thing with that is his contract is $6 million. His contract runs through the 25-26 season, where Frederik Andersen joins in the last year of his deal this year. So you're doing the same goalies that are the same age, but you're getting an additional year of term with Jacob Markstrom. Yes, you are going from a little bit of a bump going from 3.4 to 6. That's totally understandable when you're going up a little bit higher in terms of that, but you're getting the same age, and you're getting someone like Jacob Markstrom, who's known to have good playoff experiences and stuff like that, and has had good seasons with the Flames. And I know this year it was okay for him. He was 23-2, did have a 2.78 goals against and then 0.905 save percentage, which was actually a big increase from what he had last year, where he had a 292 goals against and an 892 save percentage. But definitely a bounce back year for him, where he finished second in the Vezina 2 seasons ago back in 21-22, where he had a 222 goals against and a 922 save percentage in 63 games. And even in the playoffs, 12 games, had a 295 and a 901 save percentage. So he's still a pretty good goaltender, all things considered. He's a goalie who's always consistently somewhere in the, in the 910 range, like around 900 to about 910. You're looking back, all the way back to the Vancouver Canucks of 15-16, where he had a 0.95 save percentage. 16-17, a 0.910, 912, 912. His last year with the Canucks, a 0.918. Then with Vancouver was a 904, 922. Back in 22-23 was a little bit of a struggle, where he did dip under the 900s for the first time since 14-15, where he only played 3 games for the Canucks that year. So in terms of where he's had over 26 starts, the 22-23 season was the first time he dipped under the 900s. But other than that, he's been in the 900 range which it's really, you will take that if you're any type of, coach and stuff like that. And with Frederick Anderson, this year he did have a 932, but he only played in 16 games since he missed a lot of time this year due to his blood clotting issue. Last season did end with a 903 while starting 34 games. In 21-22, he had a 922 save percentage in his first year with the Hurricanes. And then you go back to 2021, it was the first time he was under 900. So Frederick Anderson's kind of the same way. He's never really he's only had like one sub 900 season, but it's one of the things where it's kind of like injuries keep plaguing him pretty hard for the most part, and he's missed a lot of times, and you really can't put the playoffs on him, but it's almost, for me, it's like you're kind of getting I like Frederick Anderson, but it feels like you're kind of getting an upgrade with a little bit, not a significant upgrade, but enough to where it's like, okay, Jacob Markstrom doesn't really get hurt as much as Frederick Anderson does. You're getting the guys who are about the same age, around the same type of stats, but you're also getting the additional year of a Markstrom deal where he's still viewed as a high starter, kind of, that 1A where you could, tandem him with Pyotr Kochetkov. And like I said, it's that extra year of term where you're not going into next offseason going, okay, well, what's our goaltending situation like when you got Spencer Martin making under $1 million. He's coming back for one more season. You got the last year of Freddie's deal. And then you got Pyotr Kochetkov for 2 more seasons after the 24-25. So you really only have one goalie out of your current 3 signed past this season. So I think if you go and trade for Jacob Markstrom, then the odd man out would be Frederick Anderson. You go and you deal his contract away. But now you've got 2 goalies that are locked up for at least the next 2 seasons. And I think you would kind of take that. I think you can make that work for sure. And, I think that's something where it's like, you don't want to lose Frederick Anderson. You're kind of giving up a little bit to get Markstrom, but you're getting a goalie with 2 years. And there's a lot more to this trade that I want to go over too. So we'll get to that, a little bit more of what makes this trade possible for the Hurricanes and the Flames. And we'll do that here in a second on a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Welcome back to a segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So we kind of went over the Jacob Markstrom part of the deal, like where they could work out with him and why you would have to move on from Frederick Anderson. And the other part of the deal I think is something that could work is Andrew Mangiapane from the Flames. He is, in last year of his deal, he's making $5.8 million. He's got a modified no trade, which is right now it's an 8-team no trade list. And the thing for me of why I'm looking at bringing Mangiapane on, it's something where he's into the last year of his deal. He is 28 years old. He's going to be 29 when the deal ends. The former 166th overall pick from the 2015 drafts of the Calgary Flames, and he's been with the Flames his entire career. He's someone who I can think that could potentially be a good replacement for Martin Necas, and how good he does this upcoming season. You could potentially extend him for longer. And, back in the 23-24 season, he did have 14 goals, 26 assists for 40 points, and he was a +7, and that was after last year where he had 17 goals, 26 assists for 43 points. And for me, it's like that's coming 2 years off a career year for him where he had 55 points in 82 games back in 21-22 where he was a +20, and he did score 35 goals in 82 games while also having 6 points in 12 games in the playoffs. Yes, it's been a little bit of a drop here and there over the last 2 seasons, but he has added more assists. So he had 22 back in the 21-22 season, he had 20 assists, but he's gotten 26 and 26 the last 2 years. His goal, his goal total has dropped from 35 to 17 and 14, which is, it's okay. It's not great, but you're still getting someone who's scoring goals. And I think, maybe a change of scenery for him too, just like Martin Necas. I think a change of scenery for Mangiapane could work. And the nice thing I like about him is the fact that he's a left winger, right winger. So you can get a lot of versatility out of him where you're kind of keeping Martin Necas on the right side and that's it. You're getting someone like Mangiapane who can play the left and the right. yeah, he played 16 minutes last year, which was about a minute and some change less than what Necas got. But I think Mangiapane, with the right change of scenery and given, being on a good team like the Carolina Hurricanes, because the Flames have struggled pretty mightily the last 2 seasons, I would say you put him on a team like this with the Hurricanes. I think he could potentially thrive really well with them. And I think that's something you could possibly look at to where, okay, this could work where it's a change of scenery trade for Martin Necas and Mangiapane. And, yes, you are taking a $6 million contract in Markstrom and a 5.8 in Mangiapane, but the thing is, Mangiapane's deals for 1 season. You can kind of make that work. Okay, you will take this contract on and see, would you get a possible extension after that? Or you're like, okay, we tried it out, see if it worked, but he's coming off the books. So be it. And like I said, with Markstrom back in segment 2 is the fact that you got him for 2 seasons. So you're taking a $6 million cap hit, but it's for 2 seasons with a potential upgrade in your goaltending where you're getting someone's a little bit, not as injury prone and, has a proven track record of being a really good goalie and stuff like that too. And he's still viewed as a starter and someone that a lot of teams are looking at trying to go grab. I know the Maple Leafs have been interested in him, the Senators, the New Jersey, and stuff like that. And I know I've seen some articles of where, even from the hockey writers, that there's going to be potentially where Markstrom could be, someone that could be on the radar for a lot of contending teams like the Hurricanes and stuff like that too. And I think that's a very possible places where, getting Mangiapane and Markstrom would be significant. It would not like a super significant move, but it's something where it can make sense for the Hurricanes. And like I said, with that too, you're also getting a 2024 second, which was Dallas's, and then getting a 25 conditional third, which is Calgary's. And of course, with how conditional picks work, you can kind of, we know there's a lot of weird conditions that have to be met in certain trades. So you can make that work where there's a condition on it. I think if you're the Hurricanes and the Flames, you can figure out what a condition would look like for that. And I know with, the Flames, you're getting a 2024 second for Martin Necas. And you're giving a 2022nd, and then you're giving him a 2025 fourth, which is also yours as well. And the reason why it's a fourth for the 2025 is because the Hurricanes don't have a third or a 5th round pick next draft. So that's kind of why I'm like, okay, it would have to be a fourth, just because I don't see the Hurricanes giving up a first. That's a lot just for a 1-year rental in Mangiapane. And yeah, you're getting a really good goalie in Markstrom, but I don't know if that would work for a first, plus the assets of the 2 players that you're giving up and stuff like that. So that's kind of why I see like a 2025 fourth could work, because a lot of people are high on Martin Necas, and he's been a rumor to a bunch of different teams. So if you're the Flames and you've shown interest in Martin Necas and possibility of showing interest in Kotkaniemi as well, that's something where you would kind of be okay with giving a second and a fourth up to make that work. And talking about Martin Necas, he is the main cog in this trade where, I've said it earlier in the show, he wants more minutes. He wants a lot more money than the Hurricanes probably want to give him for someone who's kind of a streaky player. And maybe it's a change of scenery thing. And with Jesperi Kotkaniemi, he's been, talked about a lot too, where it's like, with Elliotte Friedman, will Hurricanes buy him out? You probably don't want to, because you're talking $835,000 over the next 12 seasons. That's kind of tough, where you don't really want to pay a guy for the next 12 seasons, that type of money, even if it is under $900,000. You really don't want to do that. And the thing too is he's got a modified no trade clause that kicks in for the 25-26 season that turns into a 10-team no trade clause. And it's $4.82 million. So that's where you kind of see, okay, so the contracts of Mangiapane and Kotkaniemi kind of almost even itself out to where maybe there could be a retention a little bit from the Flames side if they want to do it for Mangiapane to where it kind of almost evens itself out. Or you're the Hurricanes, you're like, okay, yeah, we'll take that little bit of a difference where you're going from, Kotkaniemi's 4.82 to Mangiapane's 5.8. You're really looking at a less than $1 million difference between the two guys. You're talking an $80,000 difference where Mangiapane's making 5.8 and then Kotkaniemi's making 4.82. So there's still, it makes it work to where it's like, it's less than $100,000 of just it's under $1 million of just of a difference of where, it's like, okay, it is what it is. So I think that's a good trade where like both those contracts are somewhat evening themselves out with less than $1 million. And then it's just, you move on from Frederik Andersen's, where his cap is, where it's at, 3.4, and you're picking up Markstrom 6. There's a little bit of a gap there, but it's not terrible. So you're talking in terms of contract wise, his money is kind of almost in a decent spot to where you can make it work. And I think for the trade, for the picks, you're swapping seconds for the most part, and then you're giving up a conditional third that you can make it work with however you want to do it. But you're also adding a fourth in from Carolina, going back to the Flames. It's because it's Martin Necas who's viewed really high. You kind of want to, make a deal that works where you're giving up some draft capital on both ends, but you're kind of having to overcompensate where Martin Necas is and where a lot of people view him, and the fact you're also taking, just Barry Kotkaniemi's contract as well on top of that. So if you're the Hurricanes, it's almost like a two birds, one stone type trade where you're getting a guy like Martin Necas out, for a change of scenery, but you're getting your assets that you want back, where you want guys who are ready to go now. And you're also getting out from under just Barry Kotkaniemi's contract. So a lot of people are viewing as kind of it's not the greatest contract, but it is what it is. But you're not having to worry about buying him out. You're not having to worry about, are you eating this contract for the next however many seasons? You're waiting for him to get ready. Because right now for the Hurricanes, it's a must-win window now. And KK cannot be having a good season the year before where he had a career in points in the 40s, but then you're dropping right back under 30 again for the second time in 3 seasons. He's good defensively, but at the same time, it's like you can't be having this guy who's making 4.8 producing under 30 points a season. You really just can't have that. That's a lot of money for a guy who's not really producing for you. And maybe it could be a change of scenery thing too for him as well, to where it's like maybe the Flames could use him and be okay with it, because we already know they're going to be in a rebuild / retool. So maybe KK is in a good spot to where it's a good spot for him to be part of a retool where, okay, yeah, you're making 4.8, but we know we're not going to be good. So we're going to be needing you in the top 6 in some way. So it could definitely work to where it's okay, here's your top 6 guy, and KK getting another one in Martin Necas, and what you're giving up is Andre Mangiapane for a season. You're getting him for a year, figure out, is he good? Can you fit and give him an extension next year? And you're getting yourself an upgrade in the goalie for 2 seasons compared to one with Frederik Andersen. So there can be some ways where you're kind of working out differences in contract money and stuff like that, because you're giving up rights. You're giving up a $4.8 million contract in Kotkaniemi. You're adding on a $5.8 million deal Mangiapane, almost kind of evens itself out with KK by like a less than $1 million difference. You're adding Jacob Markstrom 6, but if you move on from Frederik Andersen, then you're having that little bit of a difference compared to the 6 compared to the 3.8, and then just figuring out other deals along the way. But I think that yes, it's a proposal, but I think it's a trade that could potentially work out. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below if you're on YouTube. So the trade is, like I said, so to go over it again, the Flames would be getting Martin Necas' RFA rights, just Barry Kotkaniemi, a 2024 second from Carolina, Carolina's 2025 fourth round pick, and then the Hurricanes would be getting Jacob Markstrom for 2 more seasons, Andrew Mangiapane for 1 year, with a possible extension. Then you're getting a 2024 second round, which was actually Dallas's second, and then getting a 2025 conditional third, which is Calgary's, and you can kind of figure out how to work out those conditions. But that's kind of the trade. Like I said, in the comments, let me know what you think about it. Is it a good trade? Would you do it? What would you kind of change it a little bit and see what you thought? Or do you think that, okay, maybe this just doesn't work? So let me know in the comments and let me know what you think. But I think this is something that could potentially work for both sides. So like I said, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. But that will be, that will kind of wrap up today's episode. I know it's a lot of just talking about Martin Necas' trade rumors and the possible mock trade, or so that just kind of get some conversation going of like, do you possibly see something happening with the Canes and the Flames that could include Martin Necas and just Barry Kotkaniemi? So it'll be very interesting right now, as it's just like I said, we're still under a month away from the free agent side, free agency, the re-sign phase, and the draft and all that too. So a lot of more trade rumors and speculations are going to be going around over the next few weeks, and see where all that goes from there. But if you want to keep up with me on social media, I'm at OneTrueZach on X. You can follow the podcast at Ella_Hurricanes. There's a link tree in my bio to where you can check out all my articles at the Hockey Writers. Also, all the articles I'm doing at the Calder Times or the AHL side of things, and where you can listen and watch to my other podcasts, the Surgecast. And along with this podcast of Locked On Hurricanes, there's a link to where you can listen to the show on all podcast platforms. Make sure to leave a 5-star rating and a review. And if you leave a rating with that 5-star review, I might just read it on the show. If you're on the YouTube side of things, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell, turn on all notifications so you don't miss an episode. Hit the thumbs up button to let me know what you think about it as well. Share it with all other Caniacs who become everydayers just like you, because we are over 870 subscribers. We are on the road to 1,000. And if we hit 1,000, I might just do something special for you guys. But I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their Monday. Let me know what you think about the trade. And until next time, as always, let's go Canes.